So I'm sure everybody that's in this chat today comes from a diverse, a lot of diverse backgrounds, and then of course coming from that, everybody has a lot of diverse ambitions of things that they want to accomplish in the world. I think I kind of have like a unique story, especially for folks who get invited to do these sorts of talks. So I'm going to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about myself, where I come from, what my background is, and the niche I've been able to carve out for myself, and the little life we've been able to build here downtown. So I can hop right into that right now. So my professional journey has started. I'm a designer by trade, so I got started really young in design. I think I started designing T-shirts and websites and all that fun stuff when I was about 12 years old. So I was like in 7th grade, and I was printing T-shirts and building websites, designing websites, and having a lot of fun with that. I was also lucky enough to end up kind of in the right spaces where I think a designer's perspective is really informed by the references that they're working with and the inspiration where they're drawing their inspiration from. So I was lucky to be able to tap in with a group of designers from all around the world, which, in 1999, that's how, when I was 12 years old, it was 1999. So that was a long time ago, but the internet really made that possible. So I'm here sitting in the middle of nowhere in Madeira. That's where I'm from. And I was talking to designers all over the world, photographers from all over the world, and was able to connect into this design community and learn so much and get inspired so much. And I carry all that experience from that early age all the way into the work that I do today. And I say that it was possible to get connected with this community back in 1999, and it's even easier to do now. I'm sure you all know and are tapped into the things that inspire you on social media, and you know where to find that stuff that motivates you and inspires you creatively, entrepreneurially, and everything in between. And that's kind of where I got my start, was just taking in references, taking in inspiration, and learning how to turn it into my own voice as a designer and as a creative and as an entrepreneur. So I highly encourage that, especially because we do it anyways without being aware of it. I think we're all sort of influenced by media. We're all influenced by different brands and things that we have an affinity for. But if you can recognize that we're influenced by those things every day, without even trying, and try to see beneath that layer, and try to understand why these different brands trigger this certain reaction in you. What are they doing? How are they building their brands, and how are they leading, or maybe the leaders of these companies are making certain decisions. If you can kind of understand the arithmetic behind that and the what makes something elicit those reactions, that's part of the magic of entrepreneurship, is creating these experiences for people. So like I said, I was kind of fortunate to be able to tap into that and start to understand that at a young age. And so here I am 22 years later, and still kind of in this realm. And I guess one other thing about that too is that, growing up in the Central Valley, we're not always expected to pursue these paths. And just want to let you guys know that it's possible to build the life that, people often associate with other areas, San Francisco, LA, New York. You can build that life here. And it's really fun to think about, because we live in a community where it's really easy to do projects and take on initiatives and have things that you're creating get noticed in this community. So that's one really cool thing about living in Fresno, staying in Fresno, and keep doing what you're doing. So I mentioned a moment ago that I'm a designer first. I've been designing for a really long time, and from a really young age, but I was able to kind of capitalize off of my experience as a designer And around the age of 20, 21, I started doing more work that, would probably be considered like creative direction. So as opposed to just designing, which I continue to do, and I do to this day, I thought about my clients, and I thought about the clients that I was doing design work for. And I was thinking, how can my studio that I founded, it's called PPL, People Studio. How can my studio serve my clients better? How can we kind of be like a one-stop shop for all of their branding and creative strategy needs? So it kind of encouraged me to start writing and start learning and picking up the tools for production, to create videos, to do more than design, to create brand assets, and so beyond like a logo. We're writing we're writing slogans, we're writing visions, we're helping entrepreneurs and executives at companies think through the types of things that working with the entrepreneurship groups and the startups that Patiño has made. I know that they encourage you to think through all these things as well in your business plan and stuff like that. We've been able to partner with companies. I'd say the first one that we sort of did that type of work with was in about 2009. And since then, we've been hired to name companies, some that are kind of recognizable here in town. And it's more than design now. And it's really cool to be able to do that work. So I guess thinking vertically in terms of like, what do I know how to do now? And how does what I know how to do now complement what I want to create in the future? And if you continually do that and reinvent yourself over your life and journey as an entrepreneur, there's kind of no limit to where you can take it. So that's one really fun thing about the journey that we're all on. As I had mentioned a moment ago, I'm from Madera, and I'm actually kind of from the outskirts of Madera. So, it wasn't always expected of us to, in my family at least, to kind of do things that are ambitious and independent. My dad always, when I was in high school, my dad always told me, "Mijo, you need to be a correctional officer. You need to go work in Chowchilla." And it just wasn't for me. It's a good job, solid benefits and all that good stuff, but I just knew that it wasn't for me, and that I wanted to kind of use the things that I was already interested in to build a different kind of life for myself. And so, even with pressure from inside my family to kind of pursue a more traditional path, I had always kind of been able to temper that pressure and face it and continue to kind of drive forward to the life that I kind of knew that I was capable of and that I knew that I wanted for myself. So, sometimes as you enter adulthood and exit high school life, there's some serious choices that you have to make, and I guess I would always encourage you to make those choices based on the intuition of how building a life that you'll be fulfilled with, because it's entirely possible. I don't think any of you guys would be in Patiño if you didn't think it was. But yeah, it gets tricky out there once you graduate. So never lose sight of the things that are important to you and the things that speak to you now. So another kind of unique part about my journey is that since I got a start at such a young age in design, by the time I was college age, I didn't think, I didn't really feel like I needed to go to college per se. So I just didn't. I've never taken a college course. I've never filled out a FAFSA. I know what it is, but I've never filled one out. And I'm not advocating for that, for everybody, because there's a lot of really good creative curriculums and entrepreneurship curriculums at a lot of different universities, private schools, art schools out there. And some of those things are what people need to do amazing things in the world. But for me, particularly with kind of the path that I had taken, I was able to build everything that I've built so far, and I haven't really needed that. But I do think about how could I level up like at this stage in what I'm doing, I think I do to this day think about like, what if I did take a course in this, or what if I got a degree in this or that? Like where, if it ever came to a point where I thought it was necessary for me to get to where I wanted to go, I would enroll in college in an instant and devote myself to it and figure it out. You know, even now I'm 34 right now, but like, yeah, if I see the usefulness of college. I just haven't really figured out how it fits into my story yet. And yeah, so you know, it's not for everybody, but you could definitely take advantage of everything that's out there in higher education. And I have always lived in the Central Valley. So I've never moved anywhere else. I've never lived anywhere else. I lived in Madera, and then I moved to downtown Fresno in 2007, and I've been there ever since. And I love being in downtown Fresno. There's so many opportunities to lead and get involved and help shape the future of this area. You know, it kind of started with the burgeoning arts district in what's now considered the cultural arts district or the mural district. Lots of fun stuff there. Art Hop, you know, at pre-pandemic always like was really fun in that area. But everything kind of sprung forth from the arts district that was formed in the cultural arts district. And it's cascading into all the other different parts of downtown right now. And one of the really cool things about living in this part of town and getting involved and just being present here is that there's lots of opportunities to shape the future, which, you know, if you have an interest in entrepreneurship, that might be something that you're really into. And so, yeah, I definitely have a soft spot for the Central Valley and for downtown Fresno. And a lot of the work and the businesses that I create are really focused on community. Yep, so that's pretty much my introduction. That's who I am, what I'm about. The one thing that I didn't mention is the businesses that I own. So I have a few of them, and I'm always kind of like brainstorming and drafting different ideas and stuff like that. But the three main businesses that I have right now, I have one called People, which I had mentioned. It was founded in 2008, and it's been going strong for 13 years. It's a branding studio. So we help small businesses. We help, our biggest client is like the airport. We've done a lot of work for Bitwise. There's a company in Bitwise called OrderSlip. They hired us to name OrderSlip. So we did all the branding. We designed the app in its first kind of generation of the app. And I think it's really a good example of what I mean when I say one-stop shop. So Bitwise comes to us. They have a product that they want to start as sort of an auxiliary brand and digital product. So in our branding studios toolkit, we have the ability to name the company. We came up with a bunch of different options, and the CEOs of Bitwise chose OrderSlip. From there, we went and we made the brand identity, all the different aspects, the color palette, the symbol that represents the company, the word mark that represents the company. Okay, so we checked the brand identity off the list. Then we moved into building a website for, and it was a, you know, kind of like a one pager, but it said everything the app did. Once that was done, we redesigned their app from its first generation into its second generation, and drafted a user interface and experience that was akin to kind of the best mobile experiences out there in the food ordering space back in 2018 when we did the work. I mean, from there we went on and we made the explainer video that showed how the app worked. We created more videos that served sort of more of a marketing purpose to tell the stories of the restaurants that OrderSlip was helping. And never once did the work that was done for OrderSlip leave my team's kind of stewardship. Which is, you know, when you're talking about producing videos, designing user experience and interface for digital products, building websites, writing scripts for videos, doing all the branding and brand strategy stuff. This is often work that multiple companies will contribute to for the benefit of one client. But we were able to kind of take care of it all in-house. So that's definitely a source of pride for myself and my team. And it kind of explains what we do at People really well. My next company that I have is called Oso, and it's a clothing brand, and it kind of shines a light and really emphasizes and celebrates our community here in the Central Valley. A lot of the symbolism and the stories that we kind of like represent and embody in the products that we make are inspired by Cesar Chavez and the farm worker labor movement, and sort of the story of farm workers and agriculture, and a lot of other things about Fresno downtown. And so I started this brand in 2019. And ever since then, it's been really fun to go out there and do pop-ups and release new shirts. And we've been able to develop kind of like a following for all that stuff. And I've met so many cool people that I would have never met otherwise. And I had mentioned kind of in my introduction that I started in 1999 designing t-shirts. And that has always been a really challenging entrepreneurship endeavor, especially back in 1999, 2001, 2004, 2005. You would go and spend a couple $100s and print some t-shirts, but it's like, where are you going to sell them? Who are you going to show them to? How are people going to see them? You might have a really cool t-shirt, but that MySpace didn't even exist back then. So it's like, there's nowhere to put them. And nowadays, I think this brand in particular is really a good representation of an example of the power of social media. We don't sort of create in a vacuum anymore, which is kind of how it felt, in 2005 when I was designing t-shirts. It was really hard to showcase what you're creating in 2005, whereas now you can connect with people in your community, you can connect with people all around the world really easily. And if you make something, you take some good photos of it and put it out there in the world, you're going to get that market feedback right away. And people are going to see what you're making, and they might even go to your big cartel or your Shopify and purchase it, and enter their credit card number and send, and then you can ship them whatever you made. So right now, just all the tools available to entrepreneurs for marketing, for creating products, for virtual manufacturing. With Oso, I've been able to connect with manufacturers all over the world to make kind of like interesting little products that I would have never imagined making. I made some custom permanent markers with our branding on them. I made some little climbing carabiners. I made the things that I'm really excited about, though, are the things that I've started making by hand and sewing myself. Yeah, it's a good example of how nowadays, the world is at our fingertips. We're able to make things faster, better, and more affordably than ever. We're able to market those things more easily than we've ever been able to. And we're able to connect with customers in a way that honestly, and I'll tell you, because I've experienced it before, it was just never possible before. And it's possible now. And it's not only possible to people, my age, it's possible for people your age as well. It's really democratized and broke down barriers and walls for entrepreneurs that, previously were insurmountable. It was really hard to start a company back in the day. And then the next business that, takes up a lot of my day-to-day time is my wife and I host 12 Airbnbs in downtown Fresno. And so I mention this because I think it really is a good example of diversifying how you are an entrepreneur. So having multiple businesses and having different things that you're able to call upon for revenue makes it easier to be successful in one or another of your other ventures. At least that's what I've found. I know some people focus on one venture of theirs and give it 100%, and they get the world back from all that elbow grease that they put into it. But for me personally, in my journey, I'll just use people as an example. we've been around since 2008. But in 2008, it was a really difficult time to start a business. The economy had just collapsed. And I got laid off because the economy collapsed, and I didn't really have any other options out there. I put out a few resumes and never heard anything back. And so what I did was I just started my own business. And it wasn't always the easiest thing. Some months it was really difficult to put everything that we needed together to pay rent, to buy food, to put gas in the car, pay insurance, all that good stuff. But even with all the challenges, you kind of struggled through and managed. But a different stream of revenue in those really challenging moments would have been really helpful. And I think that's what is interesting about today, and the different things that we're able to do to generate income. And Airbnb is one of those. And it just so happens that my wife and I have taken it really seriously. So we're super hosts. We've been super hosts since we started in 2016. We've grown from having 1 and 2 listings at the beginning to now we have 12 listings, and they're spread across. We have a couple kind of premium lofts, and that are like they get used as photo locations. They're like really beautiful spaces. And so if they're not booked with a photo shoot, they're booked with someone from out of town staying in them. And so our pricing for these like really cool places that have a full kitchen, full bathroom, and a beautiful view of downtown is about what it costs to stay at like a kind of like ratty hotel room in downtown. So like, as opposed to staying at like the Holiday Inn, you're staying in like this really premium, like cool loft that feels like you're in New York City or something like that. And then we also have so those are 2 of them, but we have 12. So the remaining 10 are bedrooms and units that have multiple rooms in them. So you're in a shared room, and the price point on those is about $35. And so that kind of serves a different niche of people who are kind of traveling on a budget. And the cool thing about Airbnb is that we've hosted people from all over the world. We have had folks from, okay, I'll tell you one interesting story. I walked into one of our Airbnb listings one time, and it was like, I think we had just got back from out of town. We were in San Francisco or something. And I went upstairs, and there was a guy wearing a suit from the neck down, and he was wearing basketball shorts under. And this was like pre-pandemic. So it wasn't like, I think we're all kind of used to that now. Like none of us know what kind of pants or shorts or whatever each other's wearing now. But it was really interesting to see this back in like 2017. And he was from China, and it was nighttime here, but he was doing a job interview in China from our Airbnb space. And that was really interesting. So we met people all over the world, people from all walks of life, and been able to kind of give them a place to rest their head and experience the best of Fresno, which is what we're all about. That's why all of our listings are in downtown Fresno, because we feel like downtown Fresno is like the best place to be in Fresno. Yeah, so those are my businesses. That's kind of like who I am, what I'm about, where I'm from, in my journey as an entrepreneur. I think that's it.
I have a quick question for your Airbnb thing. Is it like the other ones you were talking about? It kind of reminded me, which maybe I heard wrong, of like a property management. So like say I have a home and I have 2 extra rooms that I want to Airbnb out. Would your company come in and like kind of manage that, or do you actually own the buildings where that are being rented out?
Yeah, so with our listings, we are in control of the listings that we kind of like. When I say we have 12, they're ours.
Got it.
But we do have we just launched it actually a couple months ago, and it's courses for people who may have a space. And basically all we do is teach them how to do it. We've hosted thousands of guests, and over the course of the past like 5 years. And so say if you or someone had a space that they wanted to list, we wouldn't get involved in the management of it, but we would invite you to take our course to learn everything, about how to do it. and that's called that is actually a business that I didn't mention, and it's called Your B&B. So the address for that is it'syourbnb.com if you wanted to check that out. But yeah, we offer courses for other people who would like to host.
So when you do, because you were saying that you do like rooms where it's like $35, if you have a home that has 4 rooms, you rent each one out individually?
Yeah, so
Okay, that makes
I have
sense.
a we own a 5-bedroom house that we list each room individually, and
Got it.
we're like 98% occupied at the
Wow.
moment. So yeah, it's like we own a hotel basically.
Yeah, it's like a shared space, like a hotel. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or hostel or what have you. Yeah.
Okay, Vienna has a question. Do you guys build apps?
No, we don't build apps, but we design them. So, in the process of building an app, there's a lot of different things that are involved. Building an app is a very technical process. It takes kind of the best of the best as far as programmers to build an iOS app or an Android app. We leave that to other people because there's nobody in our office that knows how to do that. But what we do is we'll design the interface and think through the user experience so that we're able to hand off all these resources to a developer to build an app that is successful.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was thinking the bit had you doing the coding and all that stuff. Are you able to, some of your experiences, because I'm a designer as well, follow mine, but before you, there was no internet. There was no, when I went to college, Ohio State actually had an entrepreneurship program. Mm-hmm. So I felt like, kind of like you did, like I knew all the design stuff. So I don't need to go to college to learn design. I've been doing it for a long time, but I wanted to go so I could learn how to apply it, turn that natural thing that I have into a business.
Yeah.
Are you able to put links to some of your social media, places you want the students to follow you, or some of your websites for them to check out in the chat? That would be cool, so they can check out maybe some of your designs. They can follow you on Instagram and so on.
Cool.
Because Floyd he's the real deal, guys. He's the real deal.
I know everyone likes Instagram, and I do too. So I'm just putting the Instagram links in here so you guys can follow if you'd like. And then all the Instagrams have links to websites as well, so you can check those out too.
What I recommend students, since we have like you're all young entrepreneurs and you have businesses, also have your business Instagrams follow his business. Having this collaboration of local businesses following each other is a good thing too.
Yeah, I probably said this a few times in the course of this, but we're really community oriented. So I think it's really cool that you could start a business that's just an Instagram. Like, you don't even need a domain name. You don't need a .com. You can make money on just strictly off Instagram, and that's kind of blows my mind that you can do that. The other thing that we do that might kind of, if you're into Instagram and you have any brands that you've started, which I'm sure you guys do because you go to Patiño, is we have it's kind of an offshoot of the Airbnb business, but the places that we have are like so that people love the design of the places that we've created for Airbnb. So we're slammed and book solid with people who want to do use our spaces for photo shoots. And so pretty much all of our spaces are available for people that are developing brands and want to have a nice photogenic place to showcase them, can utilize our spaces for photo shoots. And let me, I'm going to throw the link for It's Your B&B up right now because it has a nice gallery of all of our spaces. And if any of you have brands that you'd like to book a photo shoot for, you can Instagram the AirDTF account that I posted. Shoot a DM on that, and you can book those spaces. And my wife manages that. Her name's Jordan. And tell her I sent you if you do send a DM that way.
Those spaces that you rent out, is it by the hour or by like a 2-hour block? How do you guys do that?
It's by the hour, and it depends on the space. So for the loft spaces, what we do is like in between check-ins for our guests, which is the times in between 10 and 3. We make those available for photo shoots. And I believe the rate are actually, I don't want to speak to the rate because I don't want to misspeak, but if you are interested in using those spaces, they're pretty affordable. And just shoot a message to Jordan, and she can, yeah, you can just get more information on it.
So Jordan, who used to work at Bitwise?
Yeah, she still works at Bitwise. Well, she works at OrderSlip.
Okay, we all went.
Partnerships.
A whole group of us all went to the shooting range together one on Saturday or something.
Oh, cool.
Years ago. So she can shoot.
I haven't seen that yet, but I've always tried to get her to go to the shooting range to show me. But yeah. You know, something that kind of popped up with that question that you asked, Damon, is we're really ingrained in our community. There's certain projects that I haven't even mentioned that are really near and dear to me. Like I host a running club downtown. It's called 9372 Run, and it's kind of a play off the zip code of downtown, which is 93721. And so on Sundays we meet up at 8 a.m. in front of Ironbird, and a big group of us. Sometimes it's 15 of us, sometimes it's 3 of us. But we run a route through downtown, and we run up those big bridges on Tuolumne and Stanislaus. We run up the Spiral Garage. We run up the steps of City Hall, kind of like Rocky. And we get to, a lot of people who come to run with us have never really seen downtown in that way. You know, I think it's just an example of like, I care about downtown. I also like running. So how can you combine the things that you're passionate about and the things that you're interested in and the things that you do? You can mash your hobbies together and create something that has a community benefit. And so, yeah, I mentioned that just to say that, you know, I don't make any money from that. It's not something that money is exchanged on, but it's definitely applying an entrepreneurial mindset to helping make that project successful, and applying it so that other people can get benefit, is something that's really fun about. You know, you can apply the entrepreneurial mindset, the design thinking mindset to solving problems that aren't necessarily tied to revenue or finances. You can apply it to creating something for the community.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, because it's an opportunity to do something for the community. It's an opportunity to create a networking opportunity where people are meeting people you would normally just never really meet. And when do you meet again?
At 8 a.m. In front of Rio Acai Bowls, right on Fulton and Divisadero. So it's the Ironbird Lofts.
I mean, what days was that again?
Sunday 8 a.m.
Okay, Sunday 8 a.m. Little side note, I actually had a chance to run up the Rocky Steps in Philly. Went on a trip. we were doing a little rap tour back in the day, and the next day after the show we were in Philly. We ran up the steps. So
what was your tell me about your rapping? What was your crew? What was going on there?
Well, I'm from Ohio originally, so it was a little crew we had back in Ohio.
Well, you were touring, so it must have been a pretty big deal. That's awesome.
No, it was small. We were opening act, guys.
Oh, okay. Man, I love how
I'll have to tell you about that one day.
Yeah, please, thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for having me today. I'm honestly, I'm an open book, so I'll answer any questions that you guys have. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, you know, I have my experience is very broad. I'll put it that way. So if you have any questions about branding, starting a business, apparel, fashion, or anything in between, I'd love, or Fresno or downtown, I'd love to answer any questions.
All right. Do any of the students have any questions for Floyd?
Let's get those questions flowing. Come on, guys.
Isaac said, when it comes to design and marketing, where do you start?
When it comes to design and marketing, and I'll throw branding out there too. That's kind of our, what we hang our hat on. That's what we call ourselves, branding studio. We start with getting to know the subject, getting to know the client. So that's the most important thing. And if it's your project that you're branding or designing or marketing for, really work on understanding what it is that you're trying to do, and who it is that you're going to be serving with your product. So it really starts with understanding. Sometimes we have ideas in our head and we haven't really thought through all the different layers and all the different aspects of them. There's a few of them that come to mind, like, I could think up a wild idea right now, and it might not be the most feasible. If I took this idea to market, it might not be something that is actually sustainable. And so when you start to think through, especially in marketing, you think through how realistic is this idea, like how sustainable will this idea be in the long term. And I don't say that to say like that can be really discouraging too. So it's a double-edged sword. You have to be careful because if you think of the variables and the different factors and conditions that impact the idea that you have from a sort of pessimistic standpoint, you'll never do anything. But really you want to explore them just so that you can have a keen understanding of all the different factors that are impacting the idea that you have, so that you can make it successful. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to just make something that is a flash in the pan and goes away and doesn't sustain itself. We want to create businesses and marketing initiatives and community projects that are around for a long time. So it all boils down to understanding. So Christina asked how we decide the price point for our business. And I think it kind of, the answer to that question is very similar to the answer to the last question. It comes down to understanding your market and understanding your customer. And I think another big part of it too, for at least the businesses that we start, is not being greedy. So, we try to set prices that are realistic and attainable for our customers. And we don't really price ourselves at the top end of people's budgets. We want to price ourselves right in the middle, so that people come back and they feel like they're getting a good value for the things that we sell, whether it's our time as a creative studio and our hourly rate there. I didn't want to price it, in the lawyer territory. I wanted to make it so that small businesses can work with us as well. And for the shirts that we make, the sweatshirts that we make, the different products that we make, we're not selling $50 t-shirts, we're selling $30 t-shirts, which is kind of like right in the middle, I feel. Yep. And Gabriella asked, what form of feedback do we suggest a business should use, like through surveys or just letting people write what they want to? I think both are really useful. If you have a certain set of questions that can be wrapped up in a survey really neatly and sent to a certain, maybe you don't want to hear back from all of your customers. Maybe you want to hear back from certain customers that bought one specific thing, just to hear what their experience was. Surveys are really useful for finding out specific information. But if people, let's say, write what they want to, I'm going to interpret that as like they comment on your Facebook page. You don't really have much control over that anyways, as much as we would want to have control over that. So you kind of just have to let the chips fall where they may. People are going to comment what they comment, and just try to take everything that they say as constructively as possible. People aren't always the most kind when they articulate their opinions on certain things, especially if they had a less than ideal experience with your product or your service. But still try to walk away from those comments with as optimistically and positively as possible, so that you can improve your business or your product. Okay, so Karen asked, how do you keep track of the finances for your different businesses? Are they separate entities or are they under one umbrella? They're definitely separate entities, and they are the biggest recommendation I can make there is take your accounting and the structure of your business and sort of I call it the infrastructure of your business very seriously from day one, because we all want our businesses to make $1 million, but in between making $1 million and making $0, they're going to make 25 and 100 and 500 and 1,000. And from what I hear from a lot of first-time entrepreneurs is like, you know what, I'll worry about that stuff when we're making real money. But what I suggest is get your QuickBooks or your Xero account set up. And as soon as you can afford it, hire an accountant or a bookkeeper who knows what they're doing, who works with lots of different businesses. Because so you can focus, you don't have to focus on accounting, you can focus on all the fun stuff about your business and building your business. You know, over the course of my journey, I end up coaching a lot of businesses, just the nature of our work, and helping a lot of startups and people who are bootstrapping companies. And so, you know, they come to us to design their logo and their business cards and their website, but I end up, just based off the things that I've done and the businesses I've created, I do try to coach people and help people through those steps a lot as well. Oh, okay, cool. And then we have, how do you go about networking in general? Do you think that more formal interactions or more informal interactions garner stronger relationships? For what we do, you know, I think it depends on how you define formal and informal interactions. But when you're starting a business, at least when I started People, it was really helpful to show up in the community. So there were lots of different nonprofits and organizations and young professionals. There's one called Flip. I was really involved with one called Creative Fresno. Both of those organizations are around to this day. And when there's not a pandemic going on, they have all these different cool things that you can go to and show up and have fun at and meet new people. You know, I was at all those things back in 2009 and met a lot of people. I actually was on the board of Creative Fresno when I was like 21 years old, which was an interesting experience too. And so, yeah, don't shy away from those sort of settings where you can meet people and do networking. The other thing too is that I would say the bulk of our business has come from word of mouth and sort of more what I would consider more informal relationships. People like to work with people they like. So, you know, if you can meet people and create warm relationships with folks and they're in a position where they need to hire someone or contract with someone who does what you do, they're going to hire you over someone else just because they know you. So, you know, you kind of have to do both. And I guess just focus on being a good person, focus on being a person who is reliable, focus on being a person who people know they can count on, and who they can trust, and everything will fall into place. Okay, so Christina asked, have you failed in business? How did you deal with failure or rejection? I failed in business a lot. You know, sometimes when, like I mentioned, you know, when things were slim back in the starting of People, you know, every day kind of felt like a failure when you're behind on your rent and when yeah, you get discouraged, you know, because things aren't clicking, things aren't working out as they are. Maybe it's a challenging business environment in general, like it is right now. What's going on right now in this country, in this world, is no joke. It's hard. Being an entrepreneur through all this is really challenging. There's certain businesses that are harder than others. Restaurants are getting beat up right now. You know, I was going to say it's like what happened in 2008 when I started my business. But it's probably even harder right now. So, you know, if you're thinking, which we all are obviously, about being entrepreneurs, you have to take that seriously. The good news is that with things as they are right now, if you start a business right now and you actually survive all this, once things are good, they're going to feel extra good to you because you've conditioned yourself to deal with lean times. But yeah, I've faced a lot of no's, and in my business, particularly with People, no is really important because it helps us find a good fit. So I've mentioned a few times since I've been talking about brand, you know, we're a branding studio. Well, in 2008, nobody knew what branding was. Oftentimes hearing no from a client who had no interest in branding and what branding is and what, you know, the magic of branding is, was often a good thing because we didn't want to work with that person anyways. And so the work that we do, we have to be selective with who we work with. Like in the past few years, I've had clients that weren't a good fit, but you know, we try to screen for those types of clients ahead of time so that we don't end up walking down a road with someone and then have to kind of do a split. We can kind of identify those up front. we only want to work with people who believe in what we do and trust in what we do. And so failure, it happens, it's inevitable. But like I've said this a few times, you want to think about things optimistically and constructively, even failure.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Being an entrepreneur is not just being rejected all the time, but also having an opportunity to say, nah, it's okay. We don't want to work with you. It doesn't fit.
Yeah, exactly. It goes both ways. I think it definitely, you're on the receiving end of a no more than you're on more than you're giving out no's, I think, as an entrepreneur. But still, if it's not a good fit for the partnership or the client relationship that you're building, or that you may be building, that's perspective, you have to know how to say no yourself. Any questions? I'm here. Anything you've ever wanted to know about starting a business or business in general? I had to learn it all the hard way, so.
So we also have a bunch of students who, in some occasions can't make it. So, we record this session. It will be on Patiño's YouTube channel, and you'll fall into our guest speaker series. So it gives them an opportunity to also, for other students who couldn't make it, to see and hear your experiences that you have.
Awesome, cool. I just threw my email in the chat too, so
perfect.
I don't know if I really want my email up on the YouTube caption, but if anybody does want to ask any questions once this talk is over, I'm available all the time. So
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
How much would it cost on average to design an app?
To design an app, it depends what the app does. So, different apps have different levels of complexity. And the way we design apps is completely contingent upon how complex the function of the app is. Because every feature of your app represents work, right? So we charge an hourly rate. And depending on the app, if it were a really simple app, maybe 10 hours. If it's a really complex app, maybe 100. So it just depends. It depends how complex the app is. And I think it's really useful to start looking at things that way. You start thinking about trying to quantify work, and trying to wrap your head around how much it really costs. Because when we're young and we don't really care if we're staying up late working all night on something and not really quantifying how much time we spend on something, and sometimes that's really beneficial to the work. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to wrap your head around how much effort is put into something, because that's how you get paid, And so yeah, thinking about quantifying things, that the hourly rate is a really good way to do that. And so I definitely recommend that for anybody who has work that's based on a service-based business. Start thinking of your work in terms of an hourly rate, because a lot of people don't, and it's they end up in a bad spot, because it's really stressful when you're making minimum wage for designing something.
Yeah, that's like the common question. I like to equate that to we get that a lot of times. People ask us how much is a website and how much is an app, and I usually like to say, well, how much is a car?
Yeah. And
it's just like, well, it depends on the kind of car, it's so many things. So it really depends on the features. Really good answer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's websites that could take, I could build a website in 30 minutes. It's just going to have a picture, an email address, and some basic like that, maybe a phone number. But I can design a website in 50 hours, or build, test everything a website in 50 hours that has all the bells and whistles. So yeah, it just depends. The most important thing you can do if you want an accurate price for an app that you want to build is list every single spec every single specification, every single feature you can in black and white in a Google Doc. And if you hand it to a designer, you hand it to a programmer or someone that does both, a design and build, they'll be able to give you a good quote, an accurate quote. So that's the first step that I would recommend, is outline every single thing you want that app to do.
And does that feature make you money?
Yeah. Oh, my wife just chimed in and she said, and think about whether that feature that you want in your app is going to make you money or not. She knows all about that. So.
Any other questions? We have about 6 more minutes. If you guys have any other questions.
Cool. I'd just like to say, while other people, if anyone's thinking of a question or whatever, I just want to say Patiño is so cool. You all are so lucky to be involved. And I gotta say, for everyone that's working, that's the staff that's here right now, I'm jealous of you guys, because you guys get to work with such cool kids, and the kids get to learn so much. Yeah, I just want to say that about Patiño. What a great place in our community. Really
Well, thank
proud of
you
guys.
for joining us and for answering everyone's questions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a joy. I really enjoy the opportunities that we have to connect, and I hope for more in the future. So keep me in mind, keep us in mind.
For sure. Thank you, Floyd.
You got it.
Good to see you again, man. Good to see you. Tell Jordan I said, hey.
All right, we'll do. Have a
All
good
right.
one. We gotta go shooting one day. No.
and good use of the word garner, Robert. Good use of the word garner.
Have a good one.
All right, later.
Bye.